All right, guys. First off, as always, good day. I'm glad you guys are here. Today, we're going to be continuing our thing about taxes. Now, we are not only going to be talking about the taxes, but what happens when we don't tax our citizens enough, things like that. We do get a national debt, and we're going to be talking about that in a second. Okay, so let's look at your warm up. All right, so here's the warm-up picture. Um, the first question asks you, what do you think this artist is trying to say about our national debt and our country? Okay, so if you look at the picture, you see the big wave, but you see a little building on there, and there's a little American flag hanging off it. So that's supposed to be representing our country. What do you think this artist is trying to say about the national debt in our country? Right? So go ahead, write your response to that. The second question is just a guess, just a total guess. I want to know what you think our national debt is right now. Okay, as of this moment, where I'm recording this video right now, what do you think our national debt is? Okay, so right now the date is January 25th. It's like about 11:50 p.m. right now. So by the time we get to this one part, it'll be January 26th, more likely. So, but I wanted you to tell me, what do you think our national debt is? You don't have to put like an exact number like 12 trillion 872 billion 942 million. No, just basically how many billions or trillions you think we are in debt. Okay. So once you've answered that first question and once you've made a guess for the second one, prepare for the notes, okay? Again, and with the guess one, guys, again, it's just a guess. You don't have to look it up right now, try to be right. It doesn't matter if you're right or wrong, it's just a guess, all right? So pause the video because we're moving on in three, two, one. All right, so here's the thing. There's was growing up, I had some people remember talking about like, oh, our government keeps money, slush funds, this and that for themselves, and la 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 la. The government keeps money, and it's like, no, no. Our tax money goes into several programs to help our economy and provide security for our citizens. Okay, the government does not hold or save money for itself. It's not like the government's a living entity and says, "Oh, I need money for myself." No, basically, what we get, we spend, um, and money we really receive from the taxes, it goes places. So when you buy locally, you buy stuff from your city, whether it's like Best Buy or the movie theaters, that money is being spent on the workers, on electricity, on food, or whatever the service they're providing. So that money gets spread around, you know, and it does stay with um, the city. They pay taxes too. They pay their workers, so then their workers get money and spend and things like that. Now, if you look to the side, this is fairly recent. This is from 2019, 2020 uh, United States budget. As you can see, um, we spend quite a bit of money, all right? And how does this come to be? How does our country decide where we're going to spend our money? Well, that's where the president provides a plan for how our budget should be, and basically Congress approves it, saying, yes, we agree with that. Or if they say no, they might say, well, this needs to be added more money to that section or this section, or less money needs to be put in this section or this section. You know, it's all agreed on. President has a plan, proposal, shows it, and Congress basically says yes or no, and then they make adjustments to it. Again, money is divided to the level of importance that the president and Congress believes in. So as you can look from this chart, half of our tax money goes to defense, military, Paying our soldiers, buying tanks, buying planes, buying ships, paying, buying satellites, drones, things like that, bullets, guns, everything military, everything defense. That's half of our tax money goes into that. Okay. And then it's just broken down into everything else. Transportation, which is again like our train system, our buses, things like that. So if you've ever traveled by Amtrak, that's a government owned. Okay. Veteran benefits. So when soldiers come back from service, we pay for their college, things like that. That's what they're going for. Their GI Bill, things like that. Even those who are deployed, those are serving, even now, that money goes to paying them for the food and medical, whatever they need, things like that. Education, what we have, schools, things like that. Healthcare, you know, administration of justice. This is basically like prisons and federal prisons. Um, yeah, when prosecutors they need stuff to travel places to interview witnesses, things like that. Witness protection programs, all that kind of stuff. That's them. International affairs, paying for stuff for other countries, aid. When countries a hurricane destroys a country, wait, let us help you with some stuff. Let us buy you some fresh water, food, whatever. That money comes from that section. General government, hey, just everyday thing, paper clips, pencils that the government needs. Paying their workers. You know, so you can keep going down the list. Um, you know, and that's where our money is being spent on those things. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on. So here's my first question to you. From that list of what our government spends money on, which two things do you feel is the most important to have, and why did you choose those? Again, defense, transportation, veteran benefits, all that stuff that was in that little pie chart, I put it on here. Um, Explain to me, why do you think that? Okay, and when it says general space, science, technology, that's what they're talking about. NASA, research for breast cancer and diseases, and technology, researching new technology, our internet speeds, things like that, all that stuff is included in that. Okay, so what do you think? All right, think about it. Pause the video, write your response, okay? Because we're moving on in three, two, one. Now, here is a sad truth. Sometimes money collected from taxes is not enough to pay for programs that we feel are necessary, ones that we feel are we need to spend money on, but we don't want to lower that budget of something else. You know, we don't want to take money from another program, but we need that money for this program. You know, and sometimes we just some politicians they make a promise not to tax certain people, so they don't. You know, or lobbyists fight. Tooth and nail in Congress telling them don't vote to raise taxes on so and so, things like that. So our government needs money. So that leaves us to borrow money from other countries. Currently, this is stats that is current. This is 2001 stats right here. We owe Japan 1.299 trillion dollars. We owe China 1.047 trillion dollars. We own Britain $566 billion, and we own Luxembourg. I'm sure some of you guys don't even know where that is on the map. Some adults my age don't even know where it is on the map. We owe them $311 billion. Okay. All right. So as of today, which is January 25th, I think it's actually 26th now. I think it's already past 12 o'clock, or it is 12 o'clock. Um, this is how much we owe. The United States owe. We owe, let's see, that thousand million billion, 29 trillion 878 billion 77,150,000 dollars. And as you can see, the number grows. And it's still growing. It's this is real time. This is how much we owe right now. And as you see, it keep going up higher and higher and higher. Okay. If you broke that down for every man, woman, and child, each citizen would owe $89,847. Okay. Now, if you broke that down even more to where it's like you're taking away kids and you're taking away people who don't pay taxes, like people who are in prison, things like that, uh, then every person who's a taxpayer, they would have to pay $238,910 to get our debt down to zero. Yeah, it's quite a bit. Um, so that's how much we owe right now as of January 26th at, you know, 12 o'clock right now. That's how much we owe. Okay. Now, of all that stuff that was on there, as you saw, there was quite a bit of stats on there. Which one's the one that really caught your eye? So if you need to go back, rewind it just a minute, and then like pause the video to see the different numbers, by all means, go ahead and do that. Um, which one really caught your eye? And again, there's a lot of information on there broken down. Um, so you may want to just like kind of look around, things like that. The other part of this question says, do you think that we will ever get our debt down to the low billions? Now, to get down to zero, probably hardly ever, maybe never ever. But what about the low billions? What do you think? Maybe like $100 billion. Do you think we could ever get our debt down to that much? What do you think? Yes, no, why or why not? Right? So the writing prompts on the bottom to help you out. The stat that really caught my eye was, tell me, which one was it? And then I think we will or will not get our debt down to the low billions because, and explain to me why you think we will or won't ever get our debt down to that much. Okay, so pause the video, right? Because we're moving on in three, two, one. All right, so here's the thing. When you take out a loan, you have to pay back the same amount plus a little bit of interest. Now, I don't care if you borrow money from like your mom, dad, friend, or whatever, they might just say, hey, I lent you 20 bucks, give me back 20 bucks. Okay. But majority of the time, people like the banks, loan sharks, you know, they add interest. So you have to pay me back how much you borrowed from me and extra. Okay. Um, Interest is that's how banks make their money. Okay. Their rates can vary. It can be anywhere from 0%, which will never happen, to 100%, which will never happen. So basically, like if you borrowed 100 bucks, if you had 100% interest, you would have to pay them $200 because you borrowed 100 and now the interest is $100. So you have to pay $200. Okay. So here's an example of how it works in the real world. Okay. Let's say you take out a loan for $1,000, just for argument's sake, and your interest rate is 25%. Now, after 1 month, if you don't pay back that $1,000, you now have to pay back $1,000 and an additional $250 because that's 25% of $1,000, right? Now, here's where this is where it really gets people, and people tend to, I don't know, they just don't know this, just don't know math or what. But let's say you don't pay that 1 month and you're going to get to the next month. Your your payment's not going to go up $250. No, 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 no. Now, because you didn't pay the $1,250, now you have to pay $1,562. It jumped up because now that interest is not the 25% of 1,000, it's 25% of $1,250. So however much you owe after every month, it's another 25%, another 25%. You know, um, some loans they say, after so many months or years, whatever, if you don't pay it off by then it jumps up another, whatever the percentage may be. You got to know what your loan says or what the agreement is. Okay. And that's how they make their money. So again, um, so let's say a bank loans somebody $1,000. After 2 months, the person finally says, okay, you know what? I'm going to pay it all off. They would have to pay $1,562.50. So the bank just made $562 in 2 months from $1,000 loan. So they got all their money back plus an extra $562.50. So that's how they make their money. Well, I should say one of the ways to make their money. So now knowing that, what can you do in order to prevent your loan from getting too large? What are some things you could do? So think about the interest rate, think about paying, when's be a best time to pay your loans and how much. Think about that too. Okay. So pause the video, write your responses because we're moving on in 3, 2, 1. All right. Now this is a section where a lot of students I've had in the past have kind of like questions about this, and I love these questions. I love them because these are good questions. The first thing I really truly remember a student asking me is, well, if the government can borrow money, why can't states? Or can states borrow money? States can borrow money, but thing is, they too could fall into debt. Um, they cannot borrow money from foreign governments. That's something the federal government can do, not states or local governments. So California, the city of Fresno, city of Tulare, or whatever, they cannot borrow money from another country. Okay, they don't have the authority to do that. You know, the money that states can borrow from are called from municipal bonds. They're called munis for short. Okay, that's how states can borrow money. Again, they borrow money and they don't pay it off, they're basically hurting themselves really, really, really bad. Okay, so this is kind of like a last step that some states do to stay afloat, you know. Now, here are some questions again I get from some students. Why didn't the government just print more money? If we owe billions of dollars and trillions of dollars, why not just make a bunch of money and pay it off? Here's the problem. If the government prints more money, that means there's more money in circulation. Now, there's a lot of dollars out there, not just in our country, but around the world, that lowers the value of our dollar because now anyone can find it. It's everywhere, you know. And the more money there's in circulation, again, not just here, but around the world, it devalues the dollar. So, $100 bill might be worth $100 bill right now, but if they print out a bunch of money, that fit the $100 bill will not have the same value, especially if you try to buy things from other countries. They'd be like, at the dollar bill, it's now basically worthless. I mean, like the peso is worth more, and that would be really, really bad, you know. So that's why we don't do it. Another thing I hear from students is it true the government burns money? Yes. Yes, they do. Again, kind of like the first thing, they print more money. Um, they are going to destroy old money, discontinued money, damaged dollar bills. Um, they destroy those. So if you've ever gotten a dollar and it's ripped, you can tape it. You know, you can. Here's another thing you can do, which some students don't know about. Actually, a lot of people don't know about. You can actually put that torn up dollar in an envelope and mail it to the Federal Reserve, and they will send you a check for however much that money is. So let's say you got a $100 bill and someone just like ripped it in three, right? And then they just like drop it in front of you. You can take that dollar bill, as long as it's real, you can put it in an envelope and send it to the federal government, the Federal Reserve, and you will get a check back. You don't believe me? You can Google it. That's something you can do. But you'll get a check. You won't get the money in the mail, but you'll get a check saying, here's for that bill you sent us, things like that. Now, why did they burn old bills? One, you know, older bills are easy to counterfeit. Okay, that's why a lot of these bills now they have those light changing thing, those watermarks on them and things like that. Old school $20 bills, $100 bills, pretty easy to fake. You again, discontinued bills, same thing. They're easy to um, fake, and then the damaged dollar bills, the torn up ones, and things like that. They burn them. Why keep circulating those bills? Okay. The last question I get that was pretty significant, that goes with this, is what happens if the government doesn't pay its loans, doesn't pay its debts? What happens? Are they going to come after us? Somebody's going to, be knocking on our door telling us to pay? Yes. Yes, that's exactly what happens. Just like you and me, if we do not pay our debts back, our credit scores drop. And that's exactly what happens with the federal government. If they do not pay their debts or even some payments, um, our credit score drops, and banks will not lend us any money. Governments will not lend us any money. So, and if that happens, then we are in a world of hurt, because now if we borrow money and we don't pay it back, chances are we're going to need more, borrow more money to pay for other things too. So we're going to be hurting if we can't get any more loans. Okay, so yes, the government can um, lose its credit score. It can get bad, and it makes life harder to basically build up that credit score again. Okay, and it makes life harder truly for citizens in our country. Okay. All right, guys. There is no exit ticket for this one. Um, like I told Mr. Walker, uh, this file was corrupted. I had to basically find an old lesson and recreate this. So I kind of forgot about the exit ticket. So my bad. I'm sorry. Um, but yeah, that's the end of this lesson. So if you have any other questions about this stuff, um, again, let me know. Okay, I will be back in class later on, definitely next week. You can email me, or you can just write it down, leave it on my desk, and I'll be sure to see if I can answer it. If you have any questions about this kind of stuff, you want to know how it works. Okay. So with that being said, you guys, you take care, you be safe, and I'll see you guys later. Okay.